It really is a shame that whoever had the final say in the software development of this car and how certain features functioned really didn't seem to understand EV drivers and how most EVs in the market perform. This resetting of the regen levels each time you change the drive mode, quite honestly, is unacceptable. If you see me carefully monitoring my rearview mirror, it's because a Chattanooga police officer just blew by, and then as soon as he passed me, slammed on his brakes, even though I'm going like 8 miles an hour. Hello there, Brandon here with Socket Monkey Garage. I'm about to head out. I think I'm going to go to Harbor Freight. Grab a few tools. The purpose of today's outing is to go check on and prepare the RX-7. It's over at Southeast Imports for winter storage. I do have a couple of interested buyers, and I'd just like to make sure the car is in good shape. I haven't seen it since, I want to say, mid-December before the holidays. So yeah, it's been sitting for a bit. I think it needs a bit of a start and just a once-over before its newest owner hopefully comes and grabs it next week. I am going to take the Charger out here. I'm going to leave the EV9 for my wife to come pick me up. I believe what I'll do is leave the Charger over at Southeast. That way the following day I can meet the window tinters who are going to tint the windows on this, tint the windows on the Z4 back over here as well. And then hopefully some of these buyers will show up at the same time. So I think I'm going to combine this excursion today, the prep on the RX-7, and then the window tinting into one video. I guess we'll see how much it ends up being, but come along with me. This is just kind of part of what I do. I'm glad to have you come along. And if you could, before we get started, if you could head down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, more importantly, and then leave a comment if you feel you need to. As you can see, I'm pretty well engaged with my audience. And if there's anything you'd like to know or any suggestions you have on other videos you'd like me to shoot, I'm happy to hear it. All right, so come with me and we'll get started. Quick update on the status of the car since my last video. Just wanted to go ahead and show you here that there are no warning lights remaining on this. And I want to say, go through here. No stored messages, so nothing there, no flashing odometer. Everything's fine over here. So yeah, at the 12 volt. Perhaps when I'm at Harbor Freight, maybe I could grab a decent true battery tester. All right, so over here at Harbor Freight, just grabbing a few things. Gonna look and see if I can find a battery tester here. Very good. So I put together a little bit of a shopping list here. I like to just screenshot their website. It includes the aisle number, makes it easier, and visually, I mean, granted they may be in boxes, but a little easier to find. So let's start hunting. There it is. well, that's those two out of the way. Let's go find these screwdrivers, these wrenches, and then this socket set. There we go. That's exactly what I want. And I've got a 15% off coupon. Knock that down a little bit. Just look really filthy. All right, let's see what is left in the list. Pittsburgh V-Groove metric combination wrench set. Says aisle 5 as well, so it must be further down there. Let's go check it out. All right. That one looks decent. 32 piece, both SAE metric. It's like all the way up to 16 millimeter. 17 with a 16 on the stubby. I think for what I need it for, to have just there at Southeast Imports for any time I might need to do some impromptu work, I think this will be fine. All right. Well, let me check the list. I think I wanted to get some gloves and then a 3-headed, 3-outlet, 50-foot, pretty high gauge extension cord for plugging in all those battery tenders and the battery charger for any electric cars that are there. Screwdriver set. Almost forgot. Let's see what I always say this is on. Not there, but I think I see them over here on this side. That's it. That's the one I'm looking for right there. Let me just double check on my phone here. $27, yeah, that's it. It's coming with me. Gauge, 12 gauge or 10 gauge. Yeah, let's go to 10 gauge, 25 foot, a little bit shorter, but I like the added safety of the higher gauge there if I'm gonna have a lot of stuff running. Let's get some gloves. Box of these, and then a box of thinner ones for everyday use. I think that should be everything. Finished up my shopping at Harbor Freight. Got out of there for under $400, which I guess that's a bargain. Took advantage of their President's Day sale. Saved actually quite a bit. I think everything in my cart had some discount or coupon related to it, so can't complain about that. Gonna head over to Southeast Imports and check on the RX-7, leave the Charger there for the tint, the window tinting scheduled for tomorrow, and then call the wife and have her come pick me up. See me carefully monitoring my rear view mirror, it's because Chattanooga police officer just blew by, and then as soon as he passed me, slammed on his brakes, even though I'm going like 8 miles an hour under the speed limit. I don't know if he was preparing to make a turn or if he was just watching me in his rear view mirror, trying to figure out what it exactly this car is. I have heard other owners on the Daytona owner forum say that they've been approached by police during a stop. I think they stopped somewhere to eat, And we're asked a lot of questions about the car simply because there's really no apparent exterior badging. If you're not familiar with the Fretzog, if you're not familiar with Daytona being a primarily in the US, a Dodge related model designation, come to find out those gentlemen were law enforcement officers and were just trying to get a feel for how to, I guess, better identify the car if they saw it at a distance. One thing, though, that I am noticing that is a little bit of a minor inconvenience is the volume levels, depending on if it's nav volume, media volume, the UI volume, it resets on every restart. It's not saving to my profile. So one of the things that we run into is that the first time Android Auto has an announcement or Waze has an announcement, it's incredibly loud, like ear-piercingly loud. You'll go to lower it to a more reasonable volume, and I want to say the next time the car's restarted, the volume is back up to maximum again. I really hope that's something that I can bring to Dodge's attention, and it's an update they can include in their next software release. There's clearly a few bugs in the UI on this car, and that's just one of them that we've uncovered. I'll go over some more during a video where I'm going to feature the top 5 hits and the top 5 misses on this car and on the Z4. So look forward to that coming in your video feed soon. Going to put it in sport mode for getting on the highway. I have noticed that Fratsonic exhaust can be a bit drony, can get a little exhausting when you're cruising at a constant speed for any sustained period of time. It is a cold February day here, but the outside temperature is reading 44 degrees. And I'm going to hit the power shot button. See what happens. Yes. No worries about getting on the highway with all of that. Woo. Boy, she boogies. Ow. I was quite a jump in speed there. So clearly the power shot works. Above, I believe it's 42 degrees and my current state of charge, let's check here, is 69%. I'm on the highway, I'm in custom. The Fratsonic exhaust is not disabled, but it is just ever so slightly present, almost now with the wind noise and the tire noise. You can't hear it at all. It sounds like the car is kind of running in stealth mode. It is driving beautifully. I will say that the suspension is providing far more feedback than, say, the suspension in the EV9. Even in sport setting in the EV9, there is clearly quite a bit of feedback and texture being fed into the steering wheel from the front end, but no rattles, nothing going on. You know, this is a fairly new road, but it is not the world's smoothest road. It's one of our smoother roads in the area, but it does have where you hit kind of each section, I guess, as they built the highway and then poured over it with asphalt. There are kind of little section kind of dividers that where they couldn't, I guess, get each one exactly perfectly lined up, and so you'll kind of feel that as you go over it. And I'm feeling it more in the steering wheel, maybe a little bit in my backside here in the seat, coming from, say, the rear suspension. I will say the sun is out, and this is one of the first really truly cloudless sunny days, and it is, as you can see, kind of shining right here on my chest, on my stomach, and over the center console. And it is warm, but it's not, I don't feel like I'm getting burned not really necessarily contributing to heat in the car as much as I would have expected a full glass roof. Let's see. It's actually very cold to the touch. It is, again, like I said, 44 degrees outside, but not really transmitting much from a solar radiation standpoint. But back to what I was saying. The three primary sounds at highway speed with the Fratsonic exhaust and its tamest setting is the wind noise, tire noise primarily, and the AC system. That was it. The car was incredibly quiet. I believe the EV9 is quieter in that regard, but not necessarily sure it's by a wide margin. And the only way to really tell would be for me to hook up a microphone to, say, a decibel reading app on one of my phones and just take it for a drive along the same area and see for ourselves. If that's something you'd be interested in seeing, could you leave me a comment down below and say, yeah, we want to see which car is quieter, or we want to see a comparison video between this car and other cars, like it or unlike it. And then while you're down there, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. One interesting feature that I have enabled that is similar to the EV9 and many other Hyundai products that feature certain trim levels will populate each end, either the left or the right, depending on the turn signal that you've indicated, it displaying a camera view. It's kind of a high speed, high resolution camera view. Here in the instrument cluster, it actually shows me the blind spot camera over here in this center infotainment display. So here, let me start to indicate as I prepare to merge onto the highway here and let you see, what it shows. So it takes just like half a second. And as you can see, it's a nice wide angle, wide view that is just below the rear view mirror, which is something I check to look behind me to see if there's anyone kind of coming up quick in that lane. But so it's real easy. In fact, I have to say I like that a lot better than having it over here. Instead of populating a small circle on either side of the gauge cluster, it takes over the entire infotainment screen and shows you a very wide angle, very clear view of what's over here in your blind spot as well as what's over here, depending on which way you indicate. Now, I will sometimes turn those camera views on when backing up to help me see the ground behind me. I do have some things in my driveway I have to avoid rolling over, but I find it easier to almost glance down real quick than sort of glance through the Squircle steering wheel. And so in a way, I really do appreciate Dodge's interpretation of that here in the infotainment screen. I'm going to give that definitely a thumbs up and say that it beats the EV9 in that regard. Oof, boy. Yeah, if you need to pass or you're on the highway and you're already going at speed, there is still room left in this. In fact, I just could hear it because the car is so quiet. At the moment there where I punched the throttle down to the floor just to see how quickly I could pass these other cars, I could hear the servos and the motor in this camera struggling to keep it at the horizon line. That, I think, just goes to show you, the significant G-forces that this thing can exert on the occupants and objects inside the car when it's pushed to the extremes. It really is a shame that whoever had the final say in the software development of this car and how certain features functioned really didn't seem to understand EV drivers and how most EVs in the market perform. This resetting of the regen levels each time you change the drive mode, quite honestly, is unacceptable. Your mind and your body develops this sort of kind of memory, even this muscle memory to some extent, where I get changing drive modes to alter the throttle response, the suspension dynamics, but changing it then to include what happens when you go throttle off. And I might be expecting, because it was originally in a high level of regen, a heavy regen, so the car immediately starts to decelerate. And if that drive mode for some reason has regen set to 1, then the car is going to continue to coast much faster, potentially striking something in front of you. Whereas also, if you're used to letting off the throttle, say to kind of coast down a hill or begin a smooth stop or turn, having it revert back to full regen and having it just immediately kind of jar you as the car slows down much faster than your mind was sort of expecting, I just can't help but say a huge miss on Dodge's part. I think that's something, you know, if you guys internally disputed this, or, you know, internally tried to vie for, you know, whether the regen should carry across drive modes or not, whoever won out that decision, you were wrong. And I am not alone in believing that. And if you could please come to understand that those people living in this car every day and driving it don't appreciate that. And if it's something you could fix, or at least make it a setting, you know, give us a choice. Give us the opportunity to say, I want regen different for every drive mode, and I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind, even though every other car I drive doesn't do that. But I want it that way. Have a setting where you can turn that on, but then also have it where you can turn it off, and the EV portion of this car will behave like every other EV out there, and your brake regen settings stay the same across all drive modes. Just my 2 cents. Okay, so I'm here at Southeast Imports. Got the RX-7 here behind me. Gonna pop the hood, try to figure out if there's some kind of bad connection or frayed wire around this coolant level sensor. If you've watched some of my other videos, if not, I will pop a link up here, leave one down in the description to the playlist for the RX-7 videos. The charger fit in its spot. I'll show you here in a little bit how it compares to some of these other cars, especially the Japanese K cars. It absolutely dwarfs them. It's pretty funny. Here's the charger. And she be a big girl, for sure, but you really don't appreciate how big she is until you compare it to one of these AZ1s or Suzuki. That's a Suzuki Kara, actually, but I mean, it's the same as this AZ1 here. But I mean, just look at that. Look at the difference. And I'll do a better video of this when I get a chance, but I don't know if it's apparent, but the roof line on this car here is right at the belt line of that. So the top of this roof of this little Japanese K sports car doesn't even really eclipse just the top of the door there with the window for the driver's side on this massive 5,600 pound muscle EV. From what I was reading online, you can apparently find the level sensor near the fill for it. There's the fill, radiator fill, so it's not there. There's another line here, and I'm trying to look and see if there's... All right, this might be it right here. Let me go get another camera so I can get you guys in close. Okay, so I have a really good feeling that this right here is the sensor for the coolant level, and what is not functioning properly and sending that erroneous signal
to the warning light in the dash, and you can hear the wire sounds like it's run through here. I wish I could figure out exactly. We may have to remove, we might need to remove this. So I'm thinking I'm going to take that off just to see if it's fouled up or something. And then take this air intake, almost kind of like this ram air scoop it's got going into this cold air intake box for the air filter, and then feeds there into that 13B fuel injected engine. So thankfully we just made that run to Harbor Freight. Let me just put these new tools to use. I'm going to assume that these things are anywhere from 10 to 12 millimeters. Always seems to be a favorite. Yep, without a doubt on these Mazdas. Yeah, okay. That should just slip. All right. So, well, that kind of blows that theory. I didn't bring the voltmeter with me here, so it's going to be really hard to tell, you know, is it an issue with this sensor? And it seems fine. It actually seems somewhat new. The connectors aren't corroded or anything, so I'm going to see. You know, let me see. I'm afraid, how full is this? Oh, I don't have any towels with me, so I got to be careful here. Let's take this over here. All right, so that is pretty full. So I'm assuming then if we've got liquid up in here, there's a really good chance this is below the current level, and removing that may prove to be messy. So I think I'll hold off on opening that up until I can get it outside and see. But yeah, okay. Car should be fine to start up here and get outside without that air scoop back on there.
All right. Where's it at?
That's what I'm trying, and I thought I'd just stick it. Around.
Here we go.
No, it's still going.
Huh?
It's still going off. So I wonder then if this is like disconnected. I'll have to trace this back further. I'm trying to find a good place to ground it on. Maybe just a battery terminal. Did you try that?
That's got to be a ground. Nothing?
Still on, still screaming. It's like not even changing at all.
Is it the fan switch or the temp sensor?
It says add coolant, which is this sensor here, which is right at the top of the... I just pulled this out. It actually looks kind of new. Like maybe they were trying to fix this before. I mean, that's for moving coolant.
Maybe. No, yeah, that'd be a ground.
Yeah, because that goes, uh-oh, whoa.
Unless that is actually metering something. Well, that's because this is a plastic stop. There's
Yeah.
nothing to ground too.
Exactly. So that would, something tells me when that metal, all it is a metal bar that sticks out.
Yeah.
The moment it makes contact with the water, it should kind of ground itself, right? Like that closes the circuit. I don't know how it works, but that's my theory.
Yeah, I got that.
If I had just traced it a little bit, okay. All right, well, mystery solved. Thank you. Sorry to waste your time.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. So obviously that would be why. Oh yeah, I can see the other end. I don't know if you guys can see it down in there. If you can, I apologize. I might just stick this camera on my hat. Let's see.
See that wire? Sure enough, that wire. I mean, it's sheared right off. It's like sheared completely off.
Now we know it's just a sensor error. I'm not concerned at all. Oh boy. Glad to get back inside where it's warm. I think my sinuses can handle being out here in the cold for much longer. All right, so I think that's going to do it for now. I'm getting hungry. It's time for dinner. I think I've done what I can with this in preparation of showing it tomorrow. Again, I'm not selling it as a showroom ready car by any means. I've actually knocked off a couple grand off the price. So if anyone has a problem with it, they can shove it and let the wife know I'm ready to be picked up and head home. So thanks again so much for joining me on this interesting little adventure, another peek behind the scenes of my life and where I go and what I do when it comes to cars. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you joining me in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.